Brace for impact.
First time in a long time, but back like I never left. Taking each day as it comes, you know me, I don't read ahead. Watch me burn down everything, BDE on the TV set. When I'm in control on the road, you could never really know what's up next.
Hello, Davey Portman here from Up Next for a brand new episode of Deep Impact. Now, before we get started, I just want to make sure that I can actually hear my partner in crime. Andrew, can you give us a little hello?
Hello.
Perfect, it's working. Wonderful. Let's quickly go to the Twitch room before we start recording. Who have we got in here? We've got Kev, who's a first time in a long time. We've got Bob. We have See No Evil. We have Jordan. Guys, how is the feed? How are we looking? How are we sounding? You're saying it's all good?
See no.
Perfect. All right, well, let's, without any further ado, get this show underway. Hello. Davey Portman here from Up Next, postwrestling.com, Twitter. Sorry, I'm fucking this up. Where am I, Andrew? We're live, pal. All right, let's take this again. Too many things going on. Too many things. All right, let's do this shit. Come on. Hello. Davey Portman here from Up Next, postwrestling.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podcast Addict, Spotify, wherever you find us. This, my friends, is Deep Impact, where we talk all about Impact Wrestling, but that's quite a job to do, guys. Let's be real, especially with this Fire and Flavor Fest. I can't go through this all on my own. I need a friend. I need a colleague. I need a partner. I need a Mr. Andrew Thompson. Andrew, how are you today?
Davey, glad to be back. We got this thing, Deep Impact. We got the ball rolling on it. Glad to be here, man. And I'm ready to dissect some Impact Wrestling, a particular segment, a matter of fact.
Oh yeah. I Impact never fails to kind of get some buzz for the wrong reasons, and I think tonight might have been one of those things, and I think a few people were probably glad that they didn't get an invite to that Fire and Flavor Fest. But before we go into all of that, Andrew, how have you been?
I've been doing real good, man. Doing pretty good. I put out an interview today, and I'm very, very proud of that interview with Lee Moriarty. It was a solid one. Got some decent feedback on that. So that's it's been a pretty good day, man. Pretty good day.
Awesome. And you have that came out on the site today on your YouTube?
Yeah, it's on the YouTube and on the Post Wrestling site.
And give us a little plug. Come on, let's get the plugs in early this week. Where can we find this interview, Andrew? What's your YouTube?
You can catch it on the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel, man.
Perfect. And you've been putting in the sessions at that Mind Gym for your WWE trivia in prep for this Thursday?
Like, look, man, I'm gonna go ahead and admit this now. I've watched one Royal Rumble in total in preparation for this, so I am graciously getting ready to take my L, but I am going to take it with my head held high.
You, Andrew, you have changed your tone. You've been talking about running the gauntlet. I'll enter at number 1, and I'll finish this Up Next Rumble. Yes, you heard correct. We are doing an Up Next Rumble this Thursday. It's a trivia game with 30 competitors to win the Up Next Rumble and go on to WrestleMania to challenge Braden for the title. But Andrew, you've been talking so much smack over the last few weeks. And then,
hold on.
I get a little message today going, I don't... life's too hard right now. I don't think I can come in at number one. I'm gonna have to come in later. And now
Time
you're
out.
saying
Time out.
you just know you're gonna take the L, Andrew. We're so close. Please don't be this defeated already. Please.
Time out. Time out. Time out. Time out. Look, okay, now we got clear because Davey Portman just tried to put me on the spot. So now we got to really clear the air. First of all, number one, I was genuinely thinking that this was going to be a very, very good time, right? This is what I thought, right? It is going to be a good time. But see, I thought that I was going to have enough time to spread out to watch, get a couple Royal Rumbles in. I have not watched any Royal Rumble except for one, and that's in preparation for the Bushby and Thompson Wrestling Adventure podcast that drops on Thursday. Quick plug. And I was literally legit the only Royal Rumble I'm watched, so I'm going in real blind. And then Davey just tried to pull the hat over you guys' heads. Number one, look, man. The only reason I messaged Davey was because I told him that it's a slight possibility that I might be late to the Up Next game because I got to get the news update up. Everybody knows how much work I put in these news updates, and sometimes it takes me a while to read over them. So I told him I might be just a little late, and if you don't want to hold the game up for me, then I'll gladly take a step back and enter in at number 3 or number 4. But you know what? I'm gonna enter in at number 1 so I can go ahead and take my L because I know y'all gonna ask me some bullshit from 1989 that I don't remember, which is like 5 years before I was born. I'm ready for the flu. I'm telling you, I see it coming. So I'm gonna just take my L with my head held high.
It's all good. We know how hard you work. At any point you enter the Rumble, you're going to get thrown out. It really doesn't matter. I'm not even in the thing, and I'm talking trash to you. Sorry, what Royal Rumble were you and Martin doing this week?
Oh, are we doing the 2002 Royal Rumble, the one that Triple H won?
Oh, yes, we watched that recently. If you follow our Twitch streams, twitch.tv/UpNextPodcast, we've recently been watching a bunch of them. But Andrew, never fear, this isn't just Royal Rumble questions. We are going to be getting into more sides of wrestling as well. So don't you worry. But now we've got those plugs out the way. Have you got any kind of Impact news from the last week? I mean, I think last week we had the big kind of news with Ethan Page and his comments on the Ethan Page versus Karate Man match, if you want to call it that. We had Taya Valkyrie apparently having her write-off last week. And then this week, we see Trey Miguel, who we thought had left Impact Wrestling, but he seems to be back already. Now, as we're recording this, I don't think we have too much information on this kind of, is it re-signing or whatever it is. It definitely did seem weird when he wasn't with the other Rascals going to NXT. What are your thoughts on this, and how do you feel about Trey Miguel back in Impact?
Yeah, I'm actually glad to see Trey in Impact. I think this was probably the best decision for him outside of AEW, if that was an option. Like I feel like the 6-man thing really wouldn't have worked in WWE. I feel like Zach and Dez were probably the best option to head to NXT. But yeah, man, like the thing about this, specifically this era, this COVID pandemic era of wrestling that we're in, is that sometimes, well, most of the time is spoilers really don't get leaked out, or who's in the area and things of the sort. So but I'm glad that this note about Trey Miguel being at the Impact tapings didn't get out. I really like it. Was a nice surprise to see him there, and I'm glad to see him in Impact. I think me and you spoke about it on a previous Impact show before it was dubbed Deep Impact, the pre-Deep Impact days, when we talked about Tommy Dreamer had Trey Miguel on his podcast right before the Rascals departed Impact, and he told the story of how they had Trey penciled in to win the Impact World Championship at the tapings when they were crowned a new champion, but Trey had suffered a concussion, so they had to make some adjustments, but. Yeah, man, it's good to see Trey in Impact, man. I'm glad that he's back, and it seems like he made the best option for himself. And I think a lot of people were kind of expecting all 3 Rascals to be somewhere together, but it seems like he made the best decision for himself.
Yeah, none of us really know what happened down in Florida, in Orlando. It seemed very odd when Triple H was asked about it, and he said something about he wants committed people on his team or something like that. Read it as you will, but I actually think this is the right move for Trey. I think Impact is a company that has a lot of talent, but kind of it lacks a bit of that star power at the top of their roster. They've got fine wrestlers, but I think Trey is someone who could break through and be a main eventer there, whereas I see him in WWE kind of being slotted maybe in the cruiserweight division, maybe be able to get kind of North American, but that's kind of the height I'd see him getting to at this point in a WWE. Whereas I think in Impact he can definitely have at least a feud for the title, if not be the champion himself. And AEW at this point is very crowded as well. So I actually think for Trey this is probably a good move, if you want to call it that, for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think this was the best move for him. Just looking at it right now, I think you made some solid points with AEW being crowded, and I feel like they still got a lot of people that haven't been built up that they need to continue building up. And as far as WWE goes, I feel like the North American title scene was probably going to be the peak, but you never know. But I think Impact is going to be a place where he he's going to contend for the world title. I don't think that's even going to be a question.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Any other Impact news before we get into the review at all?
Yeah, so Matt Cardona, also formerly known as Zack Ryder, we shall not refer to him by his old name, but we're going to anyway. But yeah, he did an interview with WrestleZone, and he confirmed that he is not under contract with Impact Wrestling, but he does see Impact Wrestling in his future for the time being. So we'll see where that goes. But it doesn't sound like one of those things where he's against signing with Impact. It just seems like one of those things where they just haven't really sorted out everything, and he's probably still wants to test the waters a little bit to see what else is out there. So he's not under contract, but picking up wins over contracted talent.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a strange time because there isn't too much wrestling going on. It's certainly there are a few more indie promotions popping up here and there, but still, it's not a typical year in wrestling. It seems like he's trying to do kind of the Cody deal when Cody left, and he was just dipping his toe in all the ponds. He was Impact, ROH, AEW. Well, Cardona's done AEW. I kind of see that's what he's perhaps doing until either this pandemic clears and maybe he can go back to WWE. I do see him I see him as someone who would have wanted to have been a lifer there, whatever his position is. And that's just my assumption, but it seems that way. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him trying some other promotions during this time as well. Right, so that's the news. Do you have anything else before we get into the show itself?
I do not, but I do have a segment that I wanted to pitch to our Davey Portman live on the air.
Pitch away.
Hashtag Dreamer with the Pen. Davey, we are going to get into this after this first segment, but I'm going to let you take the reins, sir, please.
Dreamer with the pin. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're getting at. We can get into that as we get into the show. And I'm sure we need a Swingers Palace in here somewhere as well as another segment. All wonderful ideas. So, Impact Wrestling, January 26th, 2021. The show opens and we have Matt Striker who says, "Welcome, sports fans, and welcome to Impact Wrestling." I don't know if this was something you picked up on today, but Matt Striker calling this a sport was throughout the whole show. And I haven't noticed it on his previous weeks on commentary, but in wrestling, as soon as something's said more than once, that they're trying to get it across. And it was just striking to me how much Matt Striker was saying, this is a sport, and in this great sport, and welcome sports fans. Did you pick up on that at all, Andrew?
I really didn't notice it until you said something, but I think that's an interesting catch. Like maybe that's just them wanting to present Impact as more of a sportsy type vibe. Maybe that's the direction that they're probably treading towards, or maybe that's something to do with trying to fit more aligned with the content that is presented on Access. Maybe like I don't even know what's on Access, to be honest with you, but like maybe that's the direction they're going. I think that's an interesting point that you brought up and how you caught that though.
And what else screams sport than the Fire and Flavor Fest, which we'll get to later. So we have the world champion Rich Swan start the show, and he says that from a young age, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I worked hard, I busted my tail off, and I dreamed that one day my hard work would pay off and I'll be a world heavyweight champion. As you can see, it paid off, and I am the Impact World Champion. And now that I am champion, I didn't realize the target I'd have on my back. People from every direction are fighting hard, and I have some business to attend to tonight. And I am going to call out Tommy Dreamer. So Tommy Dreamer comes out looking a little nervous, and this was the second point where Matt Stryker says, Tommy Dreamer respects life as much as he respects this sport. Rich Swann says, look, Tommy, why are you looking so concerned? We're boys, right? We're boys. But I know it's your 50th birthday and you've done so much for this industry. So you've been an inspiration to me. You've helped me out so much. And February 13th, we have a little pay-per-view called No Surrender on Impact Plus. And I am going to defend the title against you, 50-year-old Tommy Dreamer. So this is the new segment, Dreamer with the pin. How did this happen?
I was about to say, just so people can be clear, that this is just a joke that me and David got because Tommy Dreamer is obviously on the Impact creative team, and it's just a joke. I don't want anybody to think like we over here targeting Tommy Dreamer or something, because I mean, it's plenty of other people on the team. But like this seems like a Tommy Dreamer kind of thing. You can book yourself a world title match for your 50th birthday, which is actually his 50th birthday on the 13th at the No Surrender show.
That's right.
The Impact Plus show. So yeah, man, it's official. Tommy Dreamer versus Rich Swann for the Impact World Championship. Does this match intrigue you at all, Davey, or do you think do you think the real hook in for this show is the Private Party versus Good Brothers Impact Tag Title match? Like, do you have like not the slightest bit of interest in this Rich Swann Tommy Dreamer match?
I think Tommy Dreamer is someone who's actually great on the mic, and I do see him being an asset to the company. And quite a few of his feuds he's had in the last year, he's actually got me invested due to the mic work. However, it's still a 50-year-old Tommy Dreamer. Look, I like Tommy Dreamer, but like I can't say I was the biggest fan of Dreamer in 1998, you know? Like when he was on his run, I find it very puzzling during this time, and we kind of say this every week, this time when Impact has more eyes on them than they used to because of this AEW deal, I don't see how a Rich Swann Tommy Dreamer match is gonna like sell tickets. I mean, I'm not saying you're selling tickets, but buy pay-per-views, you know? And still Rich Swann, I think Rich Swann is fantastic, but to a lot of people, he's still that guy from 205 Live a few years ago, you know? Like, if you're new to Impact, that's what you're going to think. And to see headlining a pay-per-view as Rich Swann versus Tommy Dreamer, it almost seems like a heel move from Swann to me. Going, oh, I know Moose wants a title shot, but how about I give this 50-year-old a shot instead? You
want to know what? That's kind of like an interesting, like, little, you know, thing that can be tossed in there. Like, I don't know if that's, you know, obviously that's the direction that they could go into, but, you know, could they possibly be telling the story of Rich Swann ducking Moose? Maybe, like, because I mean, I know he guaranteed, you know, that Moose was gonna get a shot at the Impact World Title, but like, could this be Swann's way of trying to, you know, avoid that just a little bit, because, you know, he took the L at Hard to Kill, and Moose is kind of like on a bit of a little, you know, somewhat hot streak as far as, like, you know, his character goes, and, you know, he kind of has a lot of momentum behind him. So I think that'd be an interesting little twist that they could take as far as like the Rich Swann character. But yeah, the Rich Swann Tommy Dreamer match, I don't think it's going to headline the No Surrender show. It shouldn't. It should be the tag title match. But like I don't, like you mentioned, them having this AEW crossover. Like I think it would have been very suitable to maybe have somebody else from AEW come and challenge Rich Swann for the Impact World Title, or maybe they could have just done the Moose Rich Swann match at No Surrender. But nonetheless, Tommy Dreamer is getting his World Title shot on his 50th birthday. So happy early birthday to Tommy.
I mean, if this is a way to kind of do maybe a double turn, because I think a lot of us saw that kind of babyface fire in Moose at that pay-per-view against the Bullet Club. If it's a way to maybe do a double turn and then have kind of Moose as the babyface up against Omega, maybe. But I see this probably as just a bit of a match and then probably a Moose beatdown on Dreamer at the end. I just feel there's other guys on your roster that could maybe be in this position. But this is interrupted by Sami Callihan, who comes out and says that Tommy, once again, is politicking his way into a big match, and Swan embarrassed the company when he lost to Omega. Callahan admits, I lost that Barbed Wire Mayhem match, but Barbed Wire Massacre, but at least I didn't embarrass the company. Then Chris Bay comes out and says, well, hey, it's my 25th birthday. I'm younger. I'm spriter. I say we go at it once again. Round 2, Bay versus Swan. And that's when Moose comes out holding the TNA World Heavyweight Championship and says that everyone is too scared to challenge for this title. Moose says that he won the championship opportunity when Swan gave him the match at the I Quit match against Willie Mack. And he says, I demand my match. I should have the match. Why are you giving it to Tommy? Rich Swann says that last week I said I'd give you the match then and there, and you didn't want it. You said it would be on your time. Well, now it's on my time. So at No Surrender, it's Tommy Dreamer versus Rich Swann. And Moose, you can face me another time. This causes a brawl to break out. They're all attacking each other. Mac then runs out and starts hitting stunners to everyone in these... how would you describe these pants Mac was wearing? Quite the bold fashion statement here, I thought.
A living legend. That's all I got to say.
The lights then go off with the Sami Callihan hacking logo, and then Ken Shamrock shows up to make it 4-on-3, and they destroy the baby faces. Also, Shamrock looked huge here. Has he grown?
So you hold on, wait. Can you repeat that? You kind of cut out a little bit, just a little bit.
Sorry, I was saying how big Shamrock looked on his return here. He looked massive.
Shamrock is one of these people that obviously chooses not to age. So I mean, chooses not to age in terms of making sure keep his physique, keep everything real. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. But yeah, Shamrock looked like he's grown.
He looked very, very big standing in the ring here against these other guys. I'll quickly go to the backstage segment before we kind of dissect this entire opening to Impact.
Hold on, I was about to say we got to mention that Chris Bay came out and called Tommy Dreamer Grandpa Dream. I don't know if that was me, but that was funny as hell to me. But no, sis, not even trying to go like even deeper into the Tommy Dreamer thing. But when I saw all these people out here in this segment, I was like, Impact's world title scene really isn't that bad. They really have a solid group of guys that can could be contenders for the world title. And I'm not seeing Bay, Chris Bay, Willie Mack, Moose, Sami Callihan out there. I was like, that's a decent crowd of guys right there that you can possibly put the world title on.
I think they do have good talent. My problem is still that this title doesn't feel prestigious at the moment, and that's mainly due to the kind of Blanchard just giving it up, and then Eddie Edwards having a little run, and it kind of just hopped about for quite a bit of 2020. So it does need a bit more prestige before I'm going to take anyone seriously holding it, and that again why I'm not kind of a Rich Swann win over Tommy Dreamer. I don't think anything does anything to build that title up. So we're backstage and we see Max, Swan and Dreamer at the back, and they demand a match right now. They want to see Scott D'Amore and they want a match immediately. Scott comes out of his office and says, look, I saw what happened there, but you guys seem a bit outnumbered. And Tommy Dreamer and Swan are like, it doesn't matter, we'll find a partner. And D'Amore says, look, the mathematician Scott Steiner might not be here, but I have something that might be even better. And they all look into Scott's office and start cheering. But at this point, we don't know who's in there. So this opening segment, we've kind of gone over about like Tommy being in this position. We've said about how kind of the top of the card they have some genuine contenders here for the World Championship. How did this hit you? Because I thought this wasn't a bad opening to the show.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad opening to the show. I think it was okay. Like I wanted to go back to the like when they first teased. If you don't mind, like I just wanted to go back to the point where they when they first teased like who it was going to be. Well, did you think who was going to be the mystery partner at the end of the night? Did you think it was going to be a AEW talent?
I had no idea, to be honest. I was probably just leaning towards that way, considering the kind of last few weeks we've had. But yeah, I was completely scratching my head who it could be, because it didn't make sense for them to be so happy if it was an AEW talent, unless it was
you're right.
an ex-Impact guy.
Yeah, that like immediately when I saw them get all excited, I was like, maybe it could be an AEW guy, and like maybe they just were happy to have somebody that was like maybe extremely talented that they all knew was of a high caliber in ring style. And then like, well, no, like when you kind of just made your point, like they probably wouldn't be happier with somebody from AEW, so that that does kind of make sense.
I mean, with it being Impact, I was expecting to be disappointed. As soon as like, we got a mystery partner tonight. Oh, it's gonna be Crazy Steve, isn't it?
Right, it's gonna be Rhino.
Yeah. So I was quite happy with who it ended up being, and did actually surprise me, which we'll get into later on. So this match is set for the main event tonight. We go forwards and we see Matt Cardona and Josh Alexander teaming up to take on Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Josh Alexander sporting slightly different gear to normal. He was normally in kind of the black, red and white with the North. He's in more blue and white now, still with the singlet. However, he hasn't changed his music, and I kind of feel this should have been the reset for him. New music, new attire, new everything, seeing that Ethan Page is no longer with the company and he is partnerless, unless the Matt Cardona thing is gonna last much longer, which it doesn't sound like. So Cardona hits a flapjack and clothesline, sending Ace Austin to the outside. Josh Alexander then backdrops Cardona over the top rope onto Fulton and Austin, taking them out. After the commercials, we see Fulton and Austin having complete control of Alexander. They hit an assisted draping leg drop across the throat of Josh Alexander. Fulton goes for the pin, which Cardona breaks up. And then Cardona comes in with the hot tag, taking out everyone. And at one point, Fulton actually grabs Austin and pulls him over to his corner to tag himself back in. And Cardona was just in the middle of the ring, sort of watching this happen. It kind of got a little sloppy towards the end here for me. Alexander then just enters the ring illegally, and the ref is doing nothing to try and stop them. Commentary are going, oh, the ref's doing all he can, but ref really just kind of yelling, and just everyone's in the ring doing their own thing. Cardona is then popped up by Ace Austin, but he lands into a Rough Rider on Fulton to pick up the win. So Josh Alexander, Matt Cardona pin Ace Austin and Madman Fulton in 11 minutes 20 seconds. Thoughts, Andrew?
You wanna know what? I actually did like this match. I felt like it had a good pace to it. Like, and I think this was like a good thing to kind of open your show with. But like again, I did want to bring this up, but you had already mentioned it. I was thinking like, as I saw Josh Alexander make his entrance, I was like, should they have changed his entrance music? Like at least, like, not saying he had to go full-fledged, like change everything about him, but like maybe switch up, the North's entrance music. But I mean, maybe that'll come, in the next couple of weeks. But like again with the Cardona thing, like I don't have in, I think I got a problem with him being an Impact. Like, he had nothing to do with that. But like, knowing that he's not signed, I just don't like the idea of him pinning your contracted talent. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
understand, like, with this going on, with even with the AEW Impact thing. Well, I don't want to be like hypocritical because Private Party, they picked up a win over Chris Sabin and they're not signed, but like I'm just like that's within the confines of the current business relationship that's going on right now. So I think you can kind of excuse that, maybe. Well, it depends on however you look at it, but like I think this should end. And I know me, you, and Nate said this on our Hard to Kill post show. I think the only way for this to end with Cardona is for Ace Austin to get the win over him. I feel like that's the only way to really, he already got the win over Madman Fulton, so I think it's only right for Ace Austin to get his win over Cardona later in the future.
It's got to, but then there's the part of me where I see them trying to appease to Cardona to hopefully get him to sign that contract and be on board. And it's like, hey, we'll give you wins. But we've seen this with Impact before. Like, just because we're giving you wins, hell, we could give you a title. It doesn't mean you're going to stick around. This match didn't do a whole lot for me, to be honest. I like Ace Austin and I like Josh Alexander a lot. Matt Cardona hasn't really done anything to kind of change up his act. I'm not seeing any different side of him at all. He looks to me like Zack Ryder. He's wrestling like Zack Ryder. He's not screaming off the page to me, and I feel if you come out of a system like WWE where you've been for so long, you kind of need to change up something, whether it be your attire, your hair, your moveset, whatever. It just seems very Zack Ryder to me, and the energy just felt a bit off. This didn't do a whole lot for me, to be honest.
Like, I think as far as like your thought process as far as him, just always appearing as Zack Ryder, like, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's just him being in that system for so long, dude. Like, he will always, like, forever be attached to WWE just because, the whole YouTube show and, just sticking around there for so long when, I'm pretty sure he had opportunities to leave, but like he was just, that was his dream. That's what he wanted to do when he was a kid, was go to WWE, and he made it, and he was there for so long. And I feel like him being stuck in the same position for so long in the company, like it did him damage. Like, I think we kind of see the difference between him and somebody like Jon Moxley. And then the thing is, like, with Mox, he was able to reach the highest point at WWE and be a world champion. You know what I'm saying? And I think that kind of helped him as far as his transition out of being there for quite some time, was because he had reached that upper echelon of success in the company. So it was able to, it was easier for him to kind of detach that, that WWE persona, and then kind of, transform into what he was, or his name wise, prior to when he got to the company. But with Cardona, it was just like he's just always been WWE. So I think it's going to be extremely hard for him to kind of shake that.
I completely agree. I mean, you look at someone like Mox, who had quite the career on the indies before WWE, so he had to learn that WWE style, whereas it feels like Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona has only ever had that style. So it just doesn't really work for me. I can't see it getting much bigger than this. I can't really see, apart from the name and having been in WWE, I can't really see the value, unfortunately, in a Matt Cardona unless he makes some changes. I also found I'm still trying to get used to watching Josh Alexander as a babyface. It was very odd just watching him kind of sell the beatdown for so long. I almost felt like Cardona, even though he's the bigger guy, he should be the one getting beaten down to really give Josh Alexander that hot tag and help babyface him, because it seems very sudden they're flipping that switch with him to make him a babyface.
With Josh Alexander, I feel like somewhere down the line, Impact is going to make him like an enforcer from somebody. Like, I can definitely see that happening for Josh Alexander. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing, but I feel like that's like that's kind of one of his strong points is being the big mean guy who looks very imposing in the background. But like me and you talked about it last week, like when we seen him cut that promo, he can do it. Like he can be,
Yeah.
he can be taken very seriously as far as the promos goes, and he can be, very forceful on the microphone. So like I just think maybe they just need to, just do the simple stuff as far as like just detaching him completely from the North and, making sure that he's established as a singles talent. But, him getting thrown right back into the mix with Cardona and the tag team, I don't think that it probably just wasn't the high start that, Alexander needed going into his singles run.
We go to Rohit Raju, who's backstage talking to someone. We don't know who. We just kind of see the back of them, a bit of their shoulder. Rohit says that all those hurdles TJP keep putting in my way, I'm jumping over them. And then next week, when I win the non-title match, I will get a championship match and regain my X Division championship. And then he says to this mystery person, you're going to help me and be right there with me as we are top of the mountain looking down. Can I count on you? The road to redemption is here. Let's take back what belongs to me. Any theories who this guy might be, who Rohit's talking to?
Man, like I had one guy in mind that I think that this possibly could be, and I'm looking up the guy's name right now because I really want to remember his name, but I know that he's been with Rohit in the AAW promotion. I think his name is Karam.
Okay.
He worked with Rohit on the independent scene. It's basically like the same thing that you was like. He's Rohit's heavy,
right?
Big, like real tall dude, strong dude, and he looks like he's just like he's like any big man, small man combo with a smaller guy is like talking all the trash, and then you got the big guy who's putting in the work, and I think that could be the person that Rohit is referring to, but. Like, do you think that this is going ahead to this is heading to Rohit versus TJP at the No Surrender show, and Rohit possibly winning the title back?
I assume so. I kind of want to see the title back on Rohit. I think he's a really entertaining champion and has actually had some pretty decent matches. So if you have a heavy with him, Sino in the Twitch room is suggesting it's Mahabali Shira, who is an Indian professional wrestler currently signed to Impact, and again looks like a bit of a big man. This was clearly a big dude that Rohit was talking to, and I think it will add to his character to have a bit of a heavy with him. So yeah, either guy sounds like the right move. So you see Rohit getting this title back as well?
Oh yeah, I definitely think it's gonna be time. It's time to put the title back. I don't know why they took the title off him in the first place. But I mean, I think because I just think he was having like such a solid run as X Division champion. Like I just thought they should have just kept it going. But I definitely think he's gonna end up regaining it from Manic, because he will forever be Manic, as Matt Striker said on commentary. It's still Manic.
We go to a paid ad from AEW. We see Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone, and Khan says to Tony, "I missed you during last week's paid ad, and I really care for you. I care about pro wrestling and the fans, and that's why I've made Dynamite the #1 destination for wrestling fans." And he says, "This is a game for me. It's my own fantasy league. And week 1 of me showing up on Impact, and we're already #1 contenders. I was in the zone, Matt Hardy was in the zone, Jerry Lynn was in the zone, and now Private Party are in the zone, and they're #1 contenders to take on the Good Brothers." Then they run down tomorrow night's Dynamite. We have Britt Baker versus Shanna. We have Dax Harwood versus Jungle Boy. Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. Hangman Page versus Ryan Nemeth, as in Hot Young Briley, if any of you are following, was next. Dolph Ziggler's brother. Yes, that Nemeth is on AEW tomorrow night. We have Jericho and MJF versus the Varsity Blondes. Cody addresses Shaq, and Jon Moxley is in action, and Darby and Sting will address the street fight. There wasn't as much substance to this one, not as many kind of clever digs. I feel they're maybe running out of material a bit. That being said, Tony Khan is still so entertaining and was just pushing the obnoxious character up even more. He just seems like this. He was doing a lot of kind of hand gestures, like pointing at the screen and stuff, and he just seems like this nerdy
dude.
kid taking on the big bully, right? It was quite entertaining.
But Tony Khan seems like a very, I mean, and maybe this is just like the, what he's presenting on screen. He just like in this specific segment, it seemed like just a very like awkwardly funny dude. Like, yeah, like you mentioned, like he just, standing like shoulder to shoulder with Tony Schiavone, like trying to big up Impact with along with Schiavone, like, hey, right, Tony, you agree with what I'm saying, right, Tony? And Tony Khan, he seems like a very funny dude on screen, like just like you said, just like yeah, I don't know what it is, but like I think these paid ad segments have done very well. It does kind of seem like they may be just running a little short on material as far as coming up with those little jabs at Impact Wrestling, but I think they still have a place on the show.
Yeah, I think maybe it's time to start switching it up and have some other talent maybe in these paid ads. I think like a Jericho would be very entertaining in these. I don't know if they're putting in someone of that star level on Impact, but as these are pre-records, it's something you can just do at AEW and send over, right? It does feel like they're kind of running out of ideas a bit with this, but still, I like my Tonys. They're entertaining.
I think something that would be kind of cool is like while they're doing the pay ads, like maybe like Scott D'Amore just pop up in the middle of one and just like completely just cuss them off. I think that'd be something funny that could be enjoyable right there.
Like buys out their ad.
Yeah.
We have Matt Cardona and Josh Alexander backstage, and Brian Myers approaches them. So it only took a couple of weeks to see Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins back together. He's kind of just talking some trash to them, and he says that he's upset that Josh Alexander picked his Jannetty, and walks off as Cardona calls him Bad Mood Brian. What did you make of this? Are we going to get a Myers versus Cardona? It's all these names down the line.
Myers versus Cardona. I think it could happen. It's gonna be weird. We completely passed the whole, this idea that basically what I'm saying is like them feuding on screen. It's gonna be so weird. Like when their podcast drops the next day and it's like all like you know what I'm saying. Like, but I mean maybe they could make it work. And him calling him Myers calling Cardona his Jannetty. That was quite the bold shot right there, sir. You referring to yourself as the Shawn Michaels of the group. But we shall see how this turns out. I don't think they're gonna end up facing each other. Like, isn't Alexander is facing Fulton next week, correct?
Yeah.
On next week's show. Okay, so yeah, maybe they'll get to it somewhere down the line. But I think this is maybe just just a segment just to like get it out the way, because like it was inevitable that this was gonna happen.
I think we're getting it a no surrender. I think we're getting a singles match. I really do. We go to our next match of the evening. Brian Myers versus Eddie Edwards. This came about last week when Brian Myers called Eddie Edwards what did he call him? Like a backyard wrestler, not a real wrestler. And Brian Myers is the most professional wrestler. So from these words, Edwards actually tries to kind of take the match to the mat and tries to actually out-wrestle Myers instead of doing his usual brawling, and actually has the better of Myers for the early portion of the match. We have this atomic drop followed by a really nice looking over-the-head belly-to-belly suplex from Edwards, sending Myers to the outside and then hitting quite a nice tope suicida, sending Myers flying up the ramp. Didn't look like the usual just push one. It looked like a decent suicide dive for me. Myers returns to the ring and hits a vertical suplex for a 2 count. And then Myers goes to the outside and trips Edwards' legs, posing for a little bit to a chorus of canned boos. I will say I think Impact have the piped-in noise at quite a good level. It's not obnoxious. It's just kind of a bit of background noise. I'm quite impressed, actually. I think it does help the product a little bit.
Yeah, it doesn't take away from the show.
No, absolutely not. And it's not really over the top. It's just subtly there. It works. Edwards hits the backpack stunner for a 2. Eddie is kind of selling his shoulder and elbow from the barbed wire match. And then Edwards, in a turn of events, just puts his thumb in the eye of Myers and then starts biting him. So in 6 minutes 11 seconds, Brian Myers defeats Eddie Edwards via DQ. This was kind of a bit out of nowhere. What did you make of this, Andrew?
When he started biting him, I was like, this is so in line with Eddie Edwards' character. So like, yeah, I didn't even bat an eye at it initially, but like I didn't know biting somebody was a DQ.
The thumb in the eye and the bite. You got the 5 count, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, you're right. But when I saw the biting and all that stuff, I was like, that's like very in line with Eddie Edwards' character. So I genuinely didn't even bat an eye at it, to be honest with you.
So you don't take this as any kind of character change for him?
As far as Eddie Edwards goes, or Brian Myers?
Eddie Edwards.
No, I mean, I just think this is like something that he would do, like this whole hardcore persona that he's been presenting for the last several years. I think this is just maybe they're trying to take it to the next level where he's just like, you know, maybe obsessing with it just a little bit more than he has in the past. This just didn't, you know, make me turn my head or be like, like I wonder what this is. It just seems like that's something that Eddie Edwards would do, is bite Brian Myers in the middle of a match.
I kind of saw this as a bit of a character change, maybe a slight sort of heel turn. Sure, it does match his kind of hardcore style, but he is the babyface here, and this was meant to be him proving that he can wrestle, you know? And I think as soon as he saw that he can't do it, he had to resort to these tactics. The way he was walking up the ramp, kind of with the sort of blood in his mouth and stuff.
The smirk on his face and stuff.
The smirk on his face. It felt like a bit of a character change, which I'm hoping he doesn't become another Sami Callihan, Eric Young, Cody Dean. You know, there's a lot of these just weird psycho dudes in Impact. But Eddie Edwards is someone who I just feels a little lost since coming out of that title picture. He seems a bit just floating around in nowhere. So maybe a character change is the right idea.
Bro, his title run was so short.
It was
like it was so short, and like I feel like when he won the title, that was like a very momentous thing for him. Like I feel like that you know that did a lot for the Eddie Edwards character, him being the world champion at that time, but then they just took it away just like that. So like it's kind of no surprise like he's at where he's at. Like if he is indeed lost and they don't know what to do with him right now. But you know, I like what the thing is that this Eddie Edwards character that he's been presenting over the past several years has been like very within that hardcore, you know, bubble, and him doing stuff like this. So that's why I really didn't kind of bat an eye at it, but it would make sense if this is him, like, you know, Brian Myers trying to take him out of that comfort zone to where he has it in his head that he can't quote unquote wrestle anymore. So he's just resorting back to what he knows.
And what did you think of just the kind of bulk of the match before the finish?
It was kind of, you know, I mean, it was short, so it wasn't really anything to like take really deep dive into. But I am interested in seeing a longer form match between Myers and Edwards. I think they could really put out something decent.
We go to perhaps the main event of the evening. I think it's definitely the section that we're going to be talking about the most here. It is the Fire and Flavor Fest.
Hold on, didn't Rosemary face Tenille before this? Or was that after this?
I've got that as after this, unless I've just got my notes all mixed up. I think it's after. Oh, no, sorry, you're right. I've got my notes mixed up. Sorry, actually, no, we see Fire and Flavor backstage. Kira Hogan. Yeah, I can edit this in post. Edit, where are we at? 46 minutes. And then I sound like a real professional podcaster after. We go backstage and see Kira Hogan and Tasha Steelz preparing for their Fire and Flavor Fest. Hogan is upset because they haven't sold that many tickets, and all the tickets they have sold are only to the ugly people. Tasha's trying to make her feel better when Johnny Swinger walks past wearing a toga, like this cheetah print toga, and he's with a few ladies, and they're going off to Swinger's Palace to have a bit of a party. And the segment ends with Kira saying she thinks she has a really bad idea. I guess we'll break this all down later in the actual segment itself. We go to another backstage segment where we see Matt Hardy with Private Party. Matt Hardy saying, "You are number one contenders for the Impact Championships because of my mentorship." Private Party are trying to take some of the credit. They're like, "Hey, look, well, we hit the gin and juice and we hooked both legs for the pin." Hardy goes, "Yes, hook both the legs. That's what I've been telling you. I'm so glad you've been listening to me and taking my advice." So taking the credit even more. He talks about a tag team battle royal that's going to take place on Dynamite, where the winners will take on the Young Bucks at Revolution. Matt Hardy...
I was about to say that's on the Beach Break show, right?
That's on Beach Break, right?
Yeah,
yes,
that's on the Beach Break show.
2 weeks, I believe.
That's gonna be interesting to see. Maybe, like, you think it's gonna be some Impact tag teams involved in it, or you think that's gonna be strictly AEW thing?
Honestly, I think it will just be AEW. It would be nice to see some Impact talent there, but I think that...
I was about to say maybe it could be like kind of a return to favor type thing for Private Party being in the
absolutely. Who would you have as that team? You do Sabin and Storm?
See, like, dude, where's Alex Shelley, bro? If they could have Motor City, like, now I'm thinking about David. Could you imagine if fans were in attendance for a Revolution show and then they have all the teams in the ring, and then they announce that they got one more team left, and then Motor City Machine? Oh my goodness, can you imagine the pop? Could you imagine?
I think we've stumbled upon maybe what the plan was. I think you could be right. We'll get to Shelley and Sabin in just a bit because.
I keep forgetting. But I don't know why I said AEW doesn't have a crowd. They do have a crowd, but I just meant like in the sense of like a full.
I know what you mean. A full.
Yeah, full arena. Yeah.
For sure.
But that wouldn't be a bad idea, to be honest with you. Like, if people think it's going to be Sabin and Storm, and then it ends up in Shelley.
I think that could be a great idea. I really think that works.
Davey and Andrew with the pin.
Absolutely. Matt Hardy says that he's putting a bounty on both sets of tag team titles and says that he'll take 50% of the winnings here, 30% at AEW, because AEW pay is way more than Impact Wrestling. More money. It kind of felt... I guess these were taped before last week's Dynamite, weren't they?
It seemed like it.
Because you still had Private Party here, see, kind of being a bit like, I don't know about Matt Hardy here. Whereas from Dynamite last week, they seem to kind of be full-blown heels. They kind of accept Hardy's advice. Whereas here, they're still kind of, you're taking a bit too much money and it's not all about you. So maybe just a little messy continuity there because of just the taping structure. But these things happen. We go to Tennille Dashwood, accompanied to the ring with Caleb, with a K, versus Rosemary with Crazy Steve.
Real quick, Dave. I wanted to ask you, like, dude, Rosemary's entrance is cool as hell. Like, I don't know why I like that like stuck out to me, like, even more than the match. Like, I was looking at her entrance, I was like, damn, her entrance is kind of cool. I was thinking about like what that could be like if it was like a bigger production. Like if she had a AEW or, WWE budget to kind of work with, like how they would shoot that and present that, like that whole, like how she kind of rises up and then like it has the purple thing going on, and like that shit is cool, bro. Like she has a really cool looking entrance. I was just thinking about like what it could be like if she had a bit of bigger production to work with.
She's so committed as well in this role. Like, she really makes it work. I noticed today, because I think her song is pretty cool. It sounds really like Skyfall by Adele. The Bond theme. Are you familiar?
I think I've heard this before. That's why I laughed at it. I think I've heard this before.
Oh, you've heard someone say that before. It
Yeah.
just hit me tonight because I was like, what is this song? And then I was like, let the sky fall. I'm like, oh, right, yes, it is. So the bell rings and Tennille charges right at Rosemary but gets caught in a sidewalk slam. Caleb immediately tries to get involved by getting on the apron to distract the referee. And while the ref is distracted, Tennille uses the camera bag. So the bag, like holding that camera that Caleb walks around with. And she smacks Rosemary with it a couple of times, knocking her to the mat, but only a 2 count. They need to weight this bag a little more. This looked very flimsy and didn't look like it really hurt at all. Tennille hits a neck breaker through the ropes to Rosemary. Tennille is hitting some punches and some kicks. She's working more of a brawling style here. Rosemary goes for a top rope drop kick, but doesn't connect at all. Tennille just sidestepping her. We then get I still call it the Emma sandwich, the running crossbody to the corner from Dashwood. Rosemary starts to come back with some clotheslines and a sling blade. Dashwood attempts some kind of tiger driver or tiger suplex, but Rosemary counters into the wing clipper as above, so below. And Rosemary defeats Tennille Dashwood. Look, I'm a big fan of the Knockouts division. But something's in the water recently because I feel they've been off. The last few shows, we go on about how much we love this division, but I thought this was kind of sloppy. And I like both these women, and I like the division as a whole, but I feel Impact haven't really been delivering that high quality women's wrestling that I sort of expect from them, and which I see as being a calling card of their company as well. What did you make of it? Am I on my own here, or did you kind of have a similar feeling?
So I feel like the match. I mean, of course, picking up a win always helps, but I feel like it only helped Rosemary in this sense. And not saying that every time somebody has a match and they're losing, then they're supposed to be on the up and up. But like I know me and you have spoken in the past about Tennille Dashwood and what we think she could be doing in Impact Wrestling and how she could be in that. That title picture alongside Deonna Purrazzo, up in that upper echelon of the women's division. Maybe I don't even think it has anything to do with the Knockouts tag titles being implemented. I think they're kind of focusing in on the Kiera and Tasha versus Havoc and Nevaeh storyline. I do feel like things have maybe kind of been off in the Impact women's division. Like I can't really pinpoint what it is, but it feels like they just haven't been focusing solely in on their women's division that they have, and they have a very talented, division. Maybe they need to, when was the last time, we seen like a Knockouts title match on TV? When was you recall? Like
the last one I recall is that. Didn't they do an Iron Man match?
Yeah,
Wasn't that on TV? Jordan
I
Grace
think that was
and
on
Deonna
TV.
Purrazzo. I can't think of if we've had any others since then.
Maybe we need something like that, just kind of, just to remind people, that they have a very, very great division over there. And like I think another thing is that like I'm pretty sure we're gonna get into this within the next segment, but dude, like I just want to see Kiera and Tasha wrestle, like. Like, dude, they're the Knockouts Tag Team Champions. I'm ready to see them wrestle. Like, I know me and you talked about this last week. I think this should have been the first thing, like the first night they were on the Impact tapings after winning the tag titles. I think they should have probably started this off with a title defense, give them a quick win, establish that they ain't coming to play, and boom, there you got it.
I agree. There's something just off with this division for me at the moment. I think I like the idea of having a Knockouts championship match on TV. I know we've just had the tag tournament, but I wouldn't be completely against some singles tournament to set up a opponent for Deonna either. Just ways to get wrestling out there, because I mean this wasn't a very long match and there isn't a whole lot of great story going into it. I don't know if they just weren't kind of inspired and kind of phoned it in a bit or what, but something's just not hitting with me with this division, and I really like the talent they have in Impact. It's
You,
just
you, you I was gonna say, you wanna know what's funny about that, Davey? Like, you can kind of even, harken that back to or relate that to AEW's women's division and how that's kind of been in the same mix. Like, I kind of feel like they kind of been in a rut. Like, and I mean, I know people have been critical of AEW's women's division for quite some time. Like, that isn't something new, but I feel like them announcing that women's world title tournament, I feel like that's how you do it. Like, literally right there, you get people excited about that, and people don't, and they haven't even announced who's in it, and people are already excited about the prospects and who could possibly be in this tournament. You know what I'm
I
saying? I think that's a good way to get some excitement back.
what I love so much about tournaments is you don't need a whole lot of story. You don't need to overthink it with like an influencer gimmick or a fire festival gimmick or any. You don't need to overthink it. The story's there. You win the match, you advance to the next round, and you want to keep winning matches so you get to the final and you win the title. So there's always the stakes on the match, and that's why I personally like tournaments, and I think something like that could definitely help. That's coming on Dynamite soon, right? That they announced that tournament. Yeah, I think that will definitely help, and I think maybe just do the same on Impact because something's off right now. We go backstage and we see Larry D, who is out of jail. He's with AC Romero. Romero's saying, "Oh, it must be so nice being out of jail," and he's like, "Nice? No, I would never have been there if Rosemary hadn't cast that spell." And then Crazy Steve and Rosemary come back and start laughing at Larry D, laughing at AC Romero. So Larry punches Steve right in the face, and AC gets into Rosemary's face and says, "You're lucky that we don't hit women," and walk off. So I guess we're now getting a Larry D Crazy Steve match coming up soon. Is this story over now? It's Taya Valkyrie and she's in jail and we can move on, but Larry D, I guess, is looking for justice for his false imprisonment or something. Just end it, please.
Just like we can cut this segment short. We can go to the next one, Dave.
Absolutely. Do we want to? We're now back in Swinger's Palace, which is Johnny Swinger's locket room. He's
This is
with
good.
Falaba, Johnny Bravo, and these random women, and they're all playing poker. Swinger has the roll of money that was won from that arm wrestling match back in 1984. Kira Hogan and Tasha Steelz come in, and she asks Swinger to come along. He's like, "What? I'm invited? I get to come in the ring with you ladies?" She's like, "Yeah, you've got a ticket now to Fire and Flavor Fest." He asks if he can bring the women along, and they're like, she goes, "Yes, absolutely." Bravo is now coming along as well. Everyone's coming except for Falaba. Fala asks if he can come too, and they go, "Well, we don't have any more free tickets left. You'll have to pay for one." But the only money he has is one single poker chip that Johnny Bravo steals from him. So they head to the ring and leave Falaba left on his own looking sad. I know you love some swing, man. Do you want to take this one away?
You want to know what? I'm going to be kind of critical of the swing man this week. I didn't enjoy his segments as much as I usually do. Now I think his overall presence adds to the segment, but specifically speaking on him, I didn't enjoy these stretch of segments, his stretch of lines like I normally would. But it wasn't bad by any. I can't go too hard in on swing man, but I just didn't enjoy these stretch of segments and his lines, his little one-liners as much as I have in the weeks prior.
I agree. I think the seeing Swinger in a toga was kind of hard for me this week, and then I'd had my fill. We see.
Hey, did you catch what did he call Falaba when he walked off? Did you
I
hear
didn't
what
catch
he said?
that. No.
So I had to make sure I was hearing what I was hearing, because I had pulled up the chat and I saw a lot of people was asking the same question. They were like, "What the hell did he just call Falaba?" So I I saw one person mention it, and I had looked it up, and he called him a ham and egger. That's what he said, and that's basically a person that's of little importance. I'm gonna
Okay.
just encourage. I'm gonna just encourage Swingman to properly pronunciate his words next time, because hearing that in regular speed, that wasn't pleasing to the ear, and I thought I heard something. So I'm gonna just he's just
Oh,
gonna say
okay.
that. Yeah,
I'm with you. I'm
exactly,
with you.
exactly, exactly.
Looking it up, apparently, I've heard the term before, but apparently it is actually wrestling slang as well for
Oh, it
jobber.
is.
Yeah, it's a
Okay.
slang for jobber. I guess that old carny
Uh,
talk of Johnny
there we
Swinger.
go. Right on cue with Swinger.
We go backstage with Deonna Purrazzo, Kimberly, and Susan. Deonna's saying that she tapped out Taya at Hard to Kill, and now she's in jail. Yes, Taya Valkyrie is in jail for the attempted murder of Johnny Bravo. She says last week Kimber and Susan defeated Jordan and Jazz, so it's time to celebrate. But that's when they're interrupted by Jazz and Jordan, who said, "We're far from done. This rivalry is not over." And Jazz gets in the face of Susan and says, "Look, what am I supposed to call you? Susie, Sue Young?" And Deonna cuts her off because she doesn't want to kind of awaken one of those beasts within Susan. So Susan actually challenges Jordan Grace to a match next week and then asks, "Why did she touch me inappropriately like that?" I think Susan's really good in this character, actually. And yeah, we're getting some sort of match next week. Jordan Grace and Susan.
Susan Sue Young, she's extremely talented. Like, do you? I kind of got two questions I wanted to ask you. So, firstly, do you think her being so well versed in these different type of characters, do you think that can be kind of like a disadvantage at times because they can just easily like not focusing on one specific character and growing that, opposed to they could just like switch her just into anything at the drop of a dime? And also, who do you think is going to be next to challenge Deonna Purrazzo for the title? Do you think they're going to go back to Jordan Grace again?
Maybe. I don't really see who else is there unless it's... Because you've had the Sue Young, Susie match a few times. So I don't see them doing that turn yet. Jordan Grace, I'm trying to think. Mate, you've done the Rosemary match already, I believe, haven't you, at one of the Impact Plus pay-per-views? I mean, who would there be from AEW you'd like to see tied up?
I feel like the one that I know Deonna keeps asking for is Britt Baker, but like I
Okay.
can like really see Britt winning the AEW Women's title tournament and challenging Sheeta. I think it's surprising that, and not to get too off topic, but like I was just saying, like I think it's surprising that tournament could possibly be Rio. I think she might be surprised in that. But like as far as Deonna Purrazzo goes, like I don't really see anybody in the division right now that's like that's like interesting to, but outside of Jordan Grace, to run that back at assumingly the No Surrender show. I'm pretty sure they don't want to keep Deonna off of that. I wouldn't keep my women's champion off that show. So I mean, they probably they need to build somebody up like quick to
Yeah, I
to
mean,
present.
I would say maybe Havoc. Like, get this tag feud done, because we've been going back to that match quite a few times. I'd see her as being a good threat for Deonna. But everyone else seems to be kind of in that tag team or mid-low card field right now. Dream matches,
You want to know
AEW,
who?
I think Serena Deeb, Deonna Purrazzo would have a fantastic
Oh,
match.
oh
That's
my
something
goodness,
I really want to see.
bro, they would kill it. Serena Deeb, I think. Well, now I'm not gonna say that like try to downplay Deonna Purrazzo. I was gonna say she could get a real good match out of Deonna. I think Deonna could have a great match in her own right with anybody. But like I think that would be a real solid one. Like I was thinking of like people that they could bring in from AEW that haven't had the chance to be fully established, or a loss wouldn't hurt them. I was thinking like maybe like a Red Velvet could come in.
Yeah.
Like maybe you could bring in a Diamante possibly to challenge. You want to know somebody who I think would really be great in that role, like as far as like coming in from AEW and representing AEW and coming in the challenge for the knockout title, Big Swole. I think she
Yes.
would fit real nicely in that.
Yeah, and she's a great babyface who can
Yes.
very quickly heat up a feud. Just in a couple of weeks, I think you could be invested in a big Swole Diona Purrazzo match. Let's move forward. I know we really want to talk about it. It's the Fire and Flavor Fest.
This was so bad, bro.
Yes, quite a few years removed, and we are still kind of riffing on Fire Festival. Oh boy. We start off with MC Licious,
Lord have mercy, bro. Like, what?
aka Alicia Edwards. She's introducing this thing. Go and read John Ceno's report on the Post Wrestling website to find out exactly all these hot words Alicia Edwards was spitting. I can't even with this segment. Right, let's try and get into it. So we've got Alicia Edwards in the MC for the Fire and Flavor Fest, and she says, "Let's get lit and make some noise for our new Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Fire and Flavor, Kira Hogan and Tasha Steelz." Now we see all the other guests to this festival. We've got Johnny Bravo in some kind of masquerade mask. You've got Swingman in his toga. You've got these random girls we see on a table.
Security on the outside.
Got security there. We see a lot of kind of styrofoam containers, like food containers that are just on a table. A bucket full of champagne. I'm guessing it's more just sparkling wine. I doubt they got proper champagne here. And the referee right away says, "This is a dumpster fire." And Kira comes back at him with, "Your outfit's a dumpster fire." Bravo calls Tasha Steelz abroad, which gets her all worked up. And then they're trying to pass out the different food they've got. They said they got wings, they got sweet potato pie, lemon pepper chicken, and they got it from Foreman's of Nashville. Now, I'm pretty sure last week they said they were getting food from Atlanta. MC Licious takes a sip of the champagne, but spits it all out. You have Swinger, who all he's got is... I think it's Bravo, has got a slice of bread. They're just, riffing on the Fire Festival... What was it? Ham sandwiches they got at that thing or whatever. Kira and Tasha then says that they're all ungrateful. And on the outside of the ring, we see Marshmallow Man sat down. Someone in some big inflatable suit. And Tasha's getting all in Marshmallow Man's face. They think it's Fala Bar who's tried to sneak in. The head comes off and it's revealed to be Nevaeh. She hits Tasha. Kira is in the ring, turns around, and Havoc takes her out with a clothesline. So you've got Havoc and Nevaeh standing tall. I don't think I did this segment justice at all. This was horrendous. Just so bad.
Bro, it like this was not good in the slightest. Like, and I feel like it was just bad material, like just to work with overall. Like, I just don't think the material of what Kira and Tasha had to present, that they had anything even remotely decent to work with. Like, I felt like this segment could have been easily saved by cutting it maybe like 5 minutes short and just immediately cutting to the chase of Havoc and Nevaeh just coming in and just straight up brawling with Kira and Tasha. Like just off the rip. Like maybe they fool around for a little bit and maybe it still would have been corny in that sense, but I felt like it would have just helped this segment so much if you would have just got straight to the point of Havoc and Nevaeh. Like they lost and they want the knockout tag title, so they just coming out there and they just about to wreck everything and just leave it there. So like we could have done without the marshmallow person in the costume and you know Bravo out there, whatever the hell Bravo was doing in MC Lish. Bro, come on, man. Like what the, like I'm telling you, like I know I said this earlier. Like Alicia, Kira and Tasha, off the break, soon as they won the titles, the first thing I would have did with them, title defense on the first show, having get a big win established right out of the gate. They're a legit tag team. They ain't come to play. they about to have a good reign as tag team champions, and I think that would at least kind of alleviated any of the, any of these segments that we've seen with them backstage or in ring over the past several weeks. Because I know even you said it. I remember you saying that the main thing with them is you don't want to strip away their personality, because that's going to take away the whole shebang of it. It's not going to be good if you take away who they are, right? But at the same time, I feel like Impact is not doing a good job of really highlighting the strengths of Kiera and Tasha. Like, yes, they can be funny. Yes, they can be comedic. Like, but I feel like Impact really isn't hitting on those, and they're trying to like force it a little bit, like force that like party atmosphere vibe that they bring, to TV. And I feel like they need to really maybe scale back on that just a little bit and really establish, they're the first Knockouts Tag Team Champions in how long? Like, they need to establish, you need to establish these titles. And like, I feel like maybe that match against Havoc and Nevaeh should have happened. Maybe they could have rematched it, the second week of tapings and not, directly the first week. But yeah, this segment was bad. It was not good. I did not enjoy it, and I think they could be doing so much better with Kiera and Tasha.
From what I remember, they didn't win the titles by doing anything heelish, did they? They won it clean, from what I remember. So
yeah, it was like one of those babyface, moments after they won.
Exactly, and most of the tournament they seem to be winning like that. So they got a big win, showing that they are a legit tag team, that they're not just sneaking away with this. Sure, they've been a bit obnoxious since, which is riling up Havoc and Nevaeh. But this feud, we've seen these matches so many times. And this whole segment, poor Alicia Edwards, she's just not good. She's not good on the mic, and they've given her a speaking role once again. Everyone was kind of talking over each other. There felt like there was cues and stuff. I don't get it in wrestling why so many wrestling promotions try and do the thing where it's so bad that it's funny, like it's deliberately bad. When it comes to wrestling, so much of it is bad. You can't do that humor that is deliberately bad, because it just goes in the same category as bad for me. And
I was going to ask you, like, do you think that that's what they're trying to present from Kiera and Tasha? Like, they're just the annoying people who won the tag team championships and they just won't be quiet about it. Like, I feel like that could be a way to go, but like you mentioned, like I don't think they were being presented as such throughout the whole tournament. Like, it was like babyface Kiera and Tasha, like, all the way. Like, people were legit rooting for them.
Yeah, I agree. This just everything was wrong about this for me, and it's a shame, because I love Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. I think they're fantastic, but this is all going about it the wrong way, and this is definitely, I think, an early front runner for worst segment of 2021.
But I mean, I think Tasha is wrestling next week. I think she's wrestling either Havoc or Nevaeh next week, I believe.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've got the next week just. It's the tag match next week. It's still Zan Hogan versus Havoc and Nevaeh.
There we go. So, she's about 3 weeks too late, but here we go. I think this was the thing that should have happened. So it's a non-title match, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So yeah, you know it's coming, right? Champion's about to get pinned. They rematch it at No Surrender.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, it feels like they've been reading Raw's rulebook recently, so yeah, probably. We go backstage where we see Chris Sabin and James Storm. They're drinking some Bud Lights, talking about all the crap that's been coming from Matt Hardy's mouth. And James Storm asks Sabin, "Are you done with them?" He said, "No, I'm not done with them." He asks his beer, "Is my beer done with them?" "No, my beer's not done with them either. We are not done with Private Party." Sabin says that we may not be the Motor City Machine Guns or Beer Money, but we are going to be future tag champions. Storm says, "Well, as my dad always said, when life gives you lemons, throw them away and get a bottle of Jack Daniels." They then do shots, and it doesn't look like Sabin takes shots that often because it burns for him. But what I read from this was the kind of James Storm Sabin pairing wasn't a 1 week thing, and it feels like Shelley might be out for a while, and this is the direction they're just moving into now. Is that what you took from this as well?
Yeah, I mean, now that you kind of put like a little bit of, your opinion on it, I kind of, I'm kind of the same thinking. But first, I hope Alex Shelley's good. Like I know he didn't like really specify like what was, what was going on. He said he said it wasn't anything, COVID related. So that's positive. We can hope, but I'm really hoping to see Alex Shelley back at some point. Obviously the tapings are already filmed.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get him back at No Surrender, or we get that scenario we cooked up earlier with him popping up in the tag team battle royal at Beach Break. But yeah, man, I don't really have an issue with Statement and Storm teaming. I kind of like the dynamic. Like you got the country boy teaming up with the good old forever baby face and Chris Sabin. He said it was one funny line. He said he was like, you go ahead, drink this Jack, put some hair on your chest and shave it off. It look cool on TV. It was like, well, just one of those little funny little quirks from James Storm. But yeah, I'm interested in this team, man. I think that once the Good Brothers, wait, let me ask you, you don't think it's a chance that Private Party going to beat the Good Brothers, right, for the tag titles? I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't see Private Party taking it, no. But I do like our thinking earlier that maybe these two could challenge the Bucks.
Yeah,
because I feel this was probably meant to be Machine Guns versus the Bucks, and the Alex Shelley situation, they've got Storm in, but I imagine them continuing with that direction.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm of the same thinking that you are.
We go to Tasha and Kira, who are backstage and so angry about what happened during their Fire and Flavor Fest. But they say it's okay. We still got the championship and we took all that money. But the referee comes and says, you kept none of your promises and I want a refund. Kira fakes looking for the money and just tells him to fuck off, basically. Says, you're not getting it. I've taken your money. And thankfully, that's enough of that for tonight. We go to our next match. Joe Doering with Violent by Design taking on Cousin Jake. The bell rings and Doering beats down Jake immediately. There's this scoop slam and then he runs chest first against the rope, bouncing back into an elbow drop on Cousin Jake, which looked quite unique. Doering then is choking Jake over the middle rope as Eric Young is taunting on the outside. Jake leaps to the outside, but tweaks his knee. He hits his spear in the corner, and then Doering hits, I think he's calling it the Eraser. It's the running crossbody, or the Divide, as Killian Dane calls it. There's then this double choke throw from Doering, and then the Death Valley Driver, but in releasing Jake, he holds onto the wrist, maintains wrist control, and hits a big lariat. Joe Doering defeats Cousin Jake in 3 minutes, 13 seconds.
Davey, we ain't ever getting that push, are we, brother?
I don't think so. This is the first I've really seen much from Joe Doering. Still kind of on the fence with him, but I did think that Death Valley Driver lariat was pretty awesome. I thought that looked really cool. So still think this guy can maybe convince me, but what did you think of the match before we go into the post?
Yeah, the after stuff. I think this is what they should often do with Joe Doering. Like just let him go out there and go, because obviously he can do it. Like just let him go out there and just like put him in there with people that that you think he bounce well off of. And I think Jake something or Cousin Jake is one of those people. Like I'd be very interested to see him work with a smaller guy like Joe Doering. I want to see him work with like a Rich Swan or even a Trey Miguel. Like I'm interested to see how that dynamic would work, because normally those dynamics when you have a bigger guy and a smaller guy, they always work really well in wrestling. It just seems like that just a natural chemistry right there. But yeah, Joe Doering can obviously go. So like just let him go.
And this guy's big. Like Cousin Jake is a big dude, and he looked small compared to Doering.
Well, how tall is Doering? What is Doering, like 6'7", dog? Like,
let's have a little look. Doering height. It comes in meters. I don't know what that means.
I think Stryker said on commentary that he was like 6'6", 6'7".
Oh, it's saying here he's 6'4", which he looks a lot bigger than that. It's them cowboy boots. It's the cowboy boots. After the match, Eric Young applies the heel hook to Cousin Jake, and then Dina comes in with a steel chair, wraps it around the leg of Cousin Jake, but Eric Young stops him. He then gets in the face of Jake and says, "This world doesn't belong to you, it belongs to us." And he hands him a Violent by Design towel. So kind of giving him a gesture that maybe you can join with us. The world doesn't belong to you, but it can belong to us. So maybe we'll get this Cousin Jake push.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, you want to know what I was thinking, Davey? Like maybe because I think me and you are kind of the same thinking as far as like we think that he should be a singles talent like on his own, but maybe this is how we kind of get to that. Like maybe he just gets driven to a point where like we've kind of even seen this on WWE TV. I don't think it's been like executed that well, but I think it's kind of like of the same vein, like as far as like what Retribution is doing to Xavier Woods, or what they were doing to Ricochet. Like they were kind of just targeting him to the point where like where they were hoping that he would just give in and eventually just join the group because he couldn't take getting beat up every week. And I think that's probably what we're going to see with the Violent by Design and Jake something. Like they're just gonna keep whooping his ass every week until he just like okay, I gotta give up. Like I'm joining, and then maybe he kind of joins the group and kind of maybe starts to outshine or gain more favor with Eric Young than Cody Deaner has, and maybe that kind of starts some dissension between the two, and then maybe that's how we get to that Jake something part where Cody Deaner just kind of snaps, like cause it's literally becoming maybe the Deaners all over again, where Cousin Jake is kind of like that standout, and everybody's kind of rooting for him, and Eric Young's taking his side over, over Cody, and then maybe that's how we get to that Jake something singles push.
Yeah, you could also have him kind of just infiltrate the group, right? Like Daniel Bryan Wyatt's style. I'm not comparing Jake to Daniel Bryan.
Oh, right.
But you know what I mean. Kind of go
I
with the
get
group
you.
for a little bit to eventually take out the leader is something they could do. Or he could just be another crony for Eric Young. We'll see. So on next week's Impact, it is announced that we have Jordan Grace taking on Susan, Josh Alexander taking Madman Fulton, Steels and Hogan taking on Havoc and Nevaeh, Private Party and Matt Hardy will be there, and we'll have TJP versus Rohit Raju in a non-title match. And that leads us to our main event of the evening. We have Moose, Sami Callihan, Ken Shamrock, and Chris Bay taking on the team of Rich Swan, Willie Mack, Tommy Dreamer, and a surprise partner, which, as we announced earlier, it turns out to be a returning Trey Miguel.
Yes, Trey McGill is back in Impact. A very, very nice surprise, man. I'm like I know we mentioned it earlier, but I'm glad this didn't leak out or this didn't become something that that was known about. Because obviously they don't have fans at the tables, and I think that's that's what happens when they're at the tables. These things just come out because people were there before they get to air. So, like, this is a good thing, man. I'm glad to see Trey back in Impact. I definitely think they got plans for him. Maybe he gets just thrust into that mix with Moose, Swan, and Mac and Chris Bay and Sami Callihan, and just add more depth to that world title picture.
Yeah, I see him right in that world title picture, and it's kind of nice that the Rascals aren't there, so he can't kind of get sucked into team matches or anything. That he is just now on his own as a solo star. I think we'll see this guy really shine
They changed his theme song too.
They did, yes. And he's got his kind of Miro blonde dyed hair going on. He works it, I think. I don't know if I could pull that off. The heels start by working on Mac and just attacking his injured knee for quite a while. Moose powerbombs Bay on top of Mac at one point, kind of showing that teamwork, but they don't really like each other kind of vibe. Trey Miguel gets the hot tag and fires up on Callihan. There's a mandible claw and then a leaping cutter stunner kind of thing from Trey. Looked very cool. Trey then goes to the top rope, but Ken Shamrock comes in. He jumps over Shamrock's head, but gets caught with a belly-to-belly. Swan then enters illegally with a series of kicks. Then Dreamer runs in with a cutter to Callihan. Chris Bay hits a top rope cutter to Dreamer. Willie Mack hits the stunner on Bay. We then get the spear from Moose. to Mac, and then a missile drop kick from Trey to Moose. Trey and Callahan are the two legal men. They're going at it some more, and Callahan goes for the package pile driver, but this gets countered into a Hurricane Rana for the pin and the win by Trey Miguel, 10 minutes 54. I thought this was a pretty fast-paced match. It kind of gave most of the shine to Trey, which I think was the right thing to do, given that he was the surprise return. What did you think of it?
Yeah, man, I basically think this match was to spotlight Trey's return as it should have been. I think this, this is something that should be happening in. And I'm not saying this hasn't, but I think it should be like the formula for when you got returning talent or somebody that's fresh. I think you should, and if you involve them in this type of scenario, I think you should strictly focus the spotlight on them. And this, you can kind of tell this match was all about Trey and building to that big hat tag for Trey, and him getting back in the Impact ring. I think this was real decent the way they formatted this and the way they planned it out and mapped it out. And yeah, man, Trey fits right in that world title scene. It was literally Impact's 5 main eventers in the ring, as far as or a few of them at least. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, that
is
crop
Tommy
of
Dreamer
guys,
one of those 5?
Apparently he is. On what's the name, on his birthday, he's about to be one of those main eventers. You and Matt, I'm not even gonna say it hypothetically. I was like, what if he what if he beat Rich Swan for the world title?
Tommy Dreamer. Book it.
I say Tommy Dreamer could definitely do it. He got the Dreamer with the pin. Hashtag Dreamer with the pin in the chat, folks.
Dreamer
yeah, man.
with the pin.
But yeah, man. They booked this is for Trey Miguel. They did a good job, and I'm glad to see him back in Impact.
Absolutely. After the match, Shamrock punches the ref and applies an ankle lock to him, as commentary just goes, no respect for officials, no respect for anything, and Impact very abruptly goes off the air. According to Sino Evil in the Twitch room, that Impact put on their Twitter that after the show went off the air, they showed a video of Shamrock, who continued to attack officials and even attacked Callahan as well. Weird how abrupt this finished, considering it's taped. You could have definitely cut one of those many Kira and Tasha segments backstage, I thought. If just to have Shamrock attacking more people and attack Callahan seems kind of a big deal. Very strange end to the show, I thought.
Yeah. So are they trying to rebuild Ken Shamrock as maybe a contender to some? And I don't think a title, but it kind of of course I think the match portion from bell to bell was about Trey, but it felt coming into it and everything else was kind of about not even repackaging Shamrock, but it just felt more about Shamrock. I'm thinking what are they trying to get at with Ken Shamrock? Or is it just or am I just looking into it and it's just a simple thing, or they just want to keep presenting him as the world's most dangerous man and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think you could be right. I think they're building up a 56-year-old Ken Shamrock to take on brand new world champion 50-year-old Tommy Dreamer. I think that's what we're getting.
That's going to headline the Rebellion pay-per-view.
Oh,
the real
yeah.
Omega.
Oh, yeah. Bad episode, I thought, Andrew. Really not good. Yeah. None of the matches. There were moments I liked that whole bit in the main event where everyone was just getting their shit in and hitting the moves. That was pretty fun. Trey Miguel's return and his hot tag was cool. But really, nothing. None of these matches I tell you to go out of your way to see. I'd maybe tell you to watch the Fire and Flavor Fest just to see how bad it was. Really unfortunate, because I think we came away from last week's pretty positive about the show, and this week just didn't hit for me at all. They really need to kind of realize what they want to be. Do they want to be a bad episode of Raw Tribute Act, or do they want to be a wrestling show? Because when they do stick to wrestling, it tends to be pretty good.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I'm gonna send my apologies to the people that was listening to this in the beginning. I was kind of rough with the answers, man, because I mean, this episode, it just wasn't like interesting. Like it is kind of hard to be like, and I'm pretty sure you know this, Davey, as someone who does podcasts like consistently and on the basis that you do. Like I know when the show's not interesting, sometimes it can be difficult to kind of be focused a little bit when you're recording because it's like what the hell did I just watch?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was kind of like one of those things for me where I had to like kind of get my wits as far as like what the hell did I just watch as far as this Impact show? And I'm not saying it was like the worst show of all time. Like it was like just it just wasn't a good TV show. And I mean that's the shit that happens sometimes. But I mean, like I would say like the only thing of note is the main event, and I would say just to see Trey McGill come back, but I'm pretty sure you can see the highlights on Twitter. They put the finish up on Twitter, so I mean you really don't even have to watch the show. But yeah, man, I think Impact needs to focus more on the in-ring product, and I think specifically in the women's division, I think that's what we're going to get back to next week with the knockouts, tag titles and stuff like that. That scene kind of picking up where it should have started. So yeah, man, I'm Davey. I'm gonna give this show a 5 out of 10, man.
I think I'm going to go a 3, to be honest. I really didn't enjoy this show.
I ain't mad at you, bro.
And I've been on a bit of an Impact kick recently. I'm trying to give these guys a chance, but come on. Mm-hmm.
Maybe any I'll just to add some fun. Any predictions you got for the main event of the Rebellion pay-per-view? What's that in like 4 months, 3 months from now? 3 months from now? Any predictions that you got?
Oh, sorry. What do I think the main event will be?
Yeah, for the Rebellion pay-per-view.
It's got to be, surely that's the Omega singles match, right?
Right. Mm.
I think I would go, personally, I'd go with Moose. I'd go Moose Omega in April. And then I think you could probably throw in a tag match there as well. You probably, like, do you do Bucks Good Brothers there, or do you do Bucks Good Brothers on AEW?
Man, see, I definitely think Bucks versus Good Brothers is. Man, well, I can't say Revolution because the winners of the Beach Break Battle Royal are gonna get the shot at the tag titles at Revolution. But maybe we could see the Good Brothers insert themselves in that, but they headlining that show with Omega, so I don't think that's gonna happen.
I think you've got maybe a bit more time because there's that. Like, they haven't fully done the split between Kenny and the Bucks yet, have they?
Right.
And I think once you do that...
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, once you do that split, or what about a 6-man and you have Hangman and the Bucks against Kenny and the Good Brothers? That could be cool. I think you've got 3 months that you could get there, and I think the way AEW tells their stories, I think that's a good length of time with some interesting matches along the way before you get to the big one.
I think that is a cool dynamic right there. And then you wouldn't also, if they want to, you can always have the pivot of the Dark Order kind of getting upset because Hangman is signing with somebody else and not them after they went all out to try to recruit him. Like that's a cool. AEW got some like they got more leg room to work with in the Impact storyline than
that's the problem right now, isn't it? It really looks like Impact are just this punching bag. We've got these paid for ads week after week just shitting on their own, on the product it's on, which was fun, but we haven't seen any retaliation yet. We've now got an AEW team challenging for the tag titles in Impact. I feel like I say this every week, but we need Impact to bite back at some point.
Like, they need to like mix it up. Like, like you can say the Good Brothers are that defensive Impact, but dude, like the Good Brothers were supposed to be in AEW. Like like this legit feels like an AEW storyline opposed to anything Impact related. Like what I was about to say, were you kind of the same thought process?
Yeah, I see Anderson and Gallows as Team AEW. You know, like you watch one of their like Talk and Shopper Manias, and even when signed with Impact, they're just shitting on Impact and saying that they want to be an AEW. Like, I see them as an AEW team, and that's kind of how they're booked with being with Kenny. They're Don's boys, right?
Yeah.
I'm still interested. The fact that we've been talking after we kind of wrapped up this review for the last 10 minutes about where we see Impact and AEW going, it's showing that, at least for me, I'm still intrigued in this overall angle. I just think Impact really need to kind of buck their ideas up on their weekly TV. So you should be coming out of a show and being interested in the AEW versus Impact storyline as well as just general Impact storylines, because Impact is an afterthought on a Wednesday night. Sure, we're interested in that story, but we're also interested in what everyone else in that cast is doing, and we really need to see Impact starts going that direction. Let's see what you guys thought. We put up feedback every Tuesday night, forum.postwrestling.com, where you can leave all your thoughts on Impact Wrestling. And we start with Chris Elliott. He says, "Hey guys, so I think tonight's Impact was probably the worst I've seen in recent weeks. The first hour and a half had a generic WWE light opening, followed by an average at best set of segments. Then came the Fire and Flavor segment. That was excruciating to watch, and a contender for the worst of show come the end of the year. Hell, I'd even take the Charlotte Lacey Evans angle over this garbage. At least we had the Trey Miguel surprise, which I thought was cool. The chat in the Twitch co-stream I was watching, seeing as Impact won't show any of their official stream in the UK, seemed to be largely disappointed it was him. However, it seemed to be filled with largely casual fans. The main was alright, however, I couldn't get rid of the bitter taste of the rest of the show. Just for you, Andrew, I give it 3 Mavens getting destroyed by The Undertaker out of 10.
Wait, shout out to you. Shout out to you for the Maven reference. Everybody knows that Maven's the GOAT. We all know this. This is common knowledge, Davey. And Davey, if you got any slander to say about Maven, we throwing hands, brother.
Oh, I love Maven. I just like pointing out that he did not win the Rumble in 2002. And then we get a comment from Jordan Beatwell, who just says, "Good work, David and Andrew." Well, thank you very much.
Shout out to Jordan, man. Jordan, good dude, man. Shout out to him. Jordan, I owe you that Instagram live or podcast too. I owe you one. We're gonna do that.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to be talking to you in just a couple of days, Andrew, because we do have our Rumble game coming up. But before we give that one final plug, any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to say? Anything you'd like to promote?
You just catch my written work over at postwrestling.com, and then I'm gonna be uploading some more interviews to the channel over the next coming weeks that I'm excited about, man. So yeah, just stay tuned and support your boy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again, Andrew, for joining us. This is a kind of a revolving position, but it's yours as long as you want it. So we'll hopefully have you back next week, but if not, we'll have someone else in your hot seat. Finally, before I go, we've got a whole load of shows coming out this week I'd like to promote. Obviously, by the time you're listening to this, it's probably Wednesday, and we'll be having Shot in the Dark with Cino Evil coming up on this feed. That's where John Cino talks all about all the shows that you may have missed over the last week. He'll be talking about 205 Live, AEW Dark, ROH, New Japan Strong. I'm pretty sure he watched the Super Spectacle, the NXT India show, if you will, today. So that will all be on tomorrow's Shot in the Dark. And then tomorrow night, our flagship show, Up Next, twitch.tv/Up Next podcast, will be live at 10:15 p.m. Myself and Braden Harrington, or you can download it wherever you find your podcasts. Then on Thursday, we have another BD Elite, where we'll be talking about AEW. That'll be 1 p.m. on the Twitch stream. And then Thursday night, the main event, the Up Next Rumble. 30 people battling it out in trivia to see who's the best. It's winner takes all. Every man for himself. All those cliches. Who will be the sole survivor of the Royal Rumble, the Up Next game? That'll be this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch, and then available for patron listeners. Then Friday, I think we have another free show. We're doing a review of Batman Forever. That'll be out on this free feed. And then Sunday night, Royal Rumble 2021, the watch along, followed by the post show we've got a lot. It's a busy week. Just check out our socials at Up Next Podcast. Follow the Facebook group Up Next Podcast. Follow myself at Davey Portner. Follow at AD Thompson __. Follow my usual co-host at Braden Harrington. Just follow everyone. So much to come. And check out our Twitch streams because we always have other stuff coming up. I believe Hogan and Sino are going to be putting on another episode of The Other Guys where they're talking all film and TV this Friday. We've got a lot going on Twitch, so just subscribe, follow. I've plugged my heart out tonight, so I think we'll wrap it up there. But this was Deep Impact. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Andrew. Take care. Be safe. Ahoy!
Ahoy!
This is the captain. Brace for impact.
First time in a long time, but back like I never left. Taking these things as it comes, you know me, I don't read ahead. Watch me burn down everything, BDE on the TV set. When I'm in control on the road, you could never really know what's up next.